Wanna start playing?
Yes.
Yes.
Some short things I thought I may remind ourselves about the conversation things, like when the player whose turn it is has decided who is going to be in the conversation. Those people decide where they are and what they are doing. And after that, you should be able to start a conversation. So
You mean as opposed to
think
deciding what our problems are or deciding any other context?
yes, it's
Okay.
just where and what you are doing, not what you are talking about. And as you said last time, start simple.
Mhm.
Somebody just saying something, and that should get us off. That's one thing. Then a couple of you have cards that state, what is it? Say, may have outsiders. I'm not sure I've talked about that one before.
Not yet.
If that is on the card, the person whose turn it is can decide if they want to have an outsider in the conversation. That outsider can be from outside or inside the isolation, but the person whose turn it is decides whether or not they want to have one. After that, anybody who wants to play that outsider can grab it. I assume if nobody wants to grab it, it's up to me. Doesn't really state it, but there are some things that come with being a facilitator, and I assume taking a role nobody else wants may be one of them, even if it isn't set. No. Yes?
I do not understand. And maybe you can help me. So let's take an example. Let's say it is my turn. And I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to say, Nathan and Max, your characters are in the scene. Go. And then, and I will say, and there is an outsider. I
That
also
works
decide.
as long as
I
you
also
have
decide.
a card.
Right, but I also decide that at this time, and this outsider is inside the isolation, for example. Okay, I have to say that too. Now, at that point, what if Max starts to play the outsider? They start having their conversation, and Max starts to play the outsider. Does that mean that Max doesn't play his character? Or does it mean his character's there but quiet?
No.
What does that mean? I'm lost.
They don't say, but I'd say no. It would be I don't think you can give your character to somebody else. So if you are in the conversation, you either feel like talking to yourself. I assume that would be possible, though I can't really see how it would be fun. To be really blunt.
I get that. I'm just trying to figure out what the opportunities are for the person. Should we just not do that?
I think we should just refrain from it.
Okay, so that means for our purposes, if I'm stating this for my own benefit, that then Nathan and Max would play their characters having a conversation, and one of the three of us, apparently, has to play the outsider.
That is my interpretation of it.
There's a built-in constraint, which means that if I put in an outsider, we can't all be in the scene then.
If you want to do that, that's the constraint for you.
Okay,
yes.
Got it. Okay, all set. Now I know how to do it.
Good.
I liked when you said play. We would play against ourselves, and then I got Gollum up in my head.
Yes, but I don't think we have to make things more complicated than necessary.
No. I agree, but I just I want to put that out there.
I can't see how that would be fun. That's why I've been sitting on my sofa this afternoon and trying to figure out what I would like and not like.
I understand.
Okay. Anybody already having an idea?
I'm staring at the card that may have outsiders on my.
Oh,
That's because we want
troublemaking.
that. We
No,
don't have to use any of those cards. Or even if we use them, we don't have to put outsiders in there. I really liked last time's trying to make a proverb, but it was exhausting.
I like many of my words, but I also feel constrained in some of them. For example, I like decree. I think there are much possibilities in there, but I don't like that I have to connect it with another word.
There is a reason for this. The higher up in the ages you come, the more constraints you basically have on what you can do or not do. And I'd say I wouldn't like it any other way. It helps to build a kind of story arc in a good way.
Shall we take that word, that card then, and see what we can do with it?
Lead us, Max.
If that
What
was
is the
a
card?
rhetorical question, yes.
Okay.
and I will follow Max.
I can do it like this, so it sticks out from every other of my card. Shall I read it up to all of you?
Please.
Decree. Some words are best left unspoken, whether it be from authority or within. An exception has been forged. Make a connection. Pick a previously defined word. Explain why the decree was made to abandon it. Skip the build a word phase. In the conversation, in the conversation, explore feelings about the decree. Finally, tear up the word.
That will be difficult.
We'll pretend.
So this is basically just deciding what word that the decree should be about.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think so. Is that a conversation, or does Max just say?
The connection, Max has to find the connection to any of the aspects and explain why that aspect. I don't think it has to be the aspect the word is connected to from the beginning.
So it could jump to a new aspect. Considering we've changed them. So. Yeah, that makes sense, considering we've changed so many aspects that...
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't make a new word. We would have a conversation about how we feel about the fact that we can't use it anymore. And there is a conversation prompt that I think we can take when Max has decided.
I believe, for me, logically, the decree should be associated with keep accounts of what you owe. Though I believe...
then let's do that.
I believe it seems like they want there to be some sort of authority or some misinterpretation on something, and I think the aspect of keeping accounts and what you owe, like somebody's keeping up to you and you're trying to reassure that you are doing right, and that might help tearing up another word in that case. I'm not sure I explained good enough, but I think it's...
I don't think you have to justify it. You just tell us what aspect and we live with it.
Mm.
We don't have to agree with you. You just have to do it.
No. I like being. I like telling why what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fine.
I think it's good. But yeah. And I need to work on explaining things also.
Okay.
But I think it should be with keeping accounts of what you owe. I think that's most logical. But then what word should be teared up?
Is that
That's the
for you
biggest
to
question.
decide, or now is this the conversation?
No, actually, that's for him to decide.
Okay.
So I cannot even get.
Or maybe, well,
Wait, this is important. Helma, which way does it go?
I think the phrasing is a little bit unclear, at least to me, because it says skip the build a word phrase. And
So we
usually
just do
the
not have that conversation.
discussion would be part of build the word.
Right.
That's why I'm feeling a little bit insecure.
What does it say
I'd
just
say
before
it's... Excuse me?
What does it say just before that?
Make a connection, explain why the decree was made to abandon it.
What does it say before that?
Pick up a previously defined word.
Right. So that does seem like something Max has to do. Max does what it says on the card. So Max, you do have to come up with a word, I think.
But
I need to choose a word.
Yeah, I think so. Because we
Explain
don't
why
have
the
a build a
decree-
word phase. We don't have that conversation.
So
This
you
is
have
your
to
job.
choose which one.
But can I ask a question? It seems that because he was talking about like the aspect of keeping accounts. Does it have to be a word connected to that aspect?
No.
Also?
No.
No.
No, you're going backwards, Ola. We got to stay in procedure here.
I'm not going backwards. I'm just asking questions. I'm really asking. I don't see that it has to be like that, but it can be like that. Or
yeah, we have agreed, or that is what Helma has said.
Don't
worry about.
We'll do it that way because I want to do it that way.
Yeah.
About the decree.
But if it's easier for Max, I can see that he could pick the word first and then decide which aspect he wants to connect it with.
Right.
I like keeping accounts. I'm thinking about you. Not spinners, not box. I'm thinking about some of these words that we have used a lot or means a lot to us, like sticky buns, spice, lilies. We have used. We should take those that we have used a lot, and there should be a reason to abandon. The reason to abandon is a little bit harder to say, I think.
But that can be part of the. Oh, but that you do have to say why. That's right. It's on the card. That is.
Yeah, it says on the card. Pick a word. Explain why it has been for. The decree was made to abandon it. Why the decree was made to abandon it.
Maybe a word that describes something we want to get rid of, or that doesn't work for us any longer.
I think I can see Max thinking.
Good.
Let's see what he thinks.
Well, either we take a word that will have a lot of impact, or we take a word that we don't use anymore, like spinners. We don't use that anymore, so we can tear it up because of that reason.
It's up to you.
But yeah, I want to pick something else, but I feel like a little bit lost. So I think it's better if I just take spinners. We don't use that much anymore, and that is also logical why you don't use words sometimes, because you don't You don't find the right situations to use them anymore. We're using boxes instead, so we should turn under our terrible one.
Okay.